Watch yourself for a moment, honestly, the way you would watch a stranger. You explain yourself to everyone. You announce what you intend to do before you have done it, and you wait for the nod, the small approving look that tells you it is safe to go on. You justify your choices to people who never earned the right to an opinion on them. You perform your own life for an audience, and you have come to mistake their applause for proof that you are on the right road, and their frown for proof that you are off it. You cannot move until you have been seen approving of yourself in their eyes first. Now watch the other man. He tells no one. He withdraws. He goes quiet for a season, and the quiet unsettles the people around him, and he lets it unsettle them and explains nothing. And when he returns, he is changed visibly, unmistakably changed, and he offers no account of where he went or what it cost him, because he understood a thing you have not yet understood. That to explain yourself is to ask permission, and to ask permission is to hand another man the rule of your life. So hear what this hour is for. You are going to disappear for a season, for 3 months, for however long the work requires, not to run from anyone, not to punish anyone with your absence. You are going to close the gate, so that the work of becoming a different man can harden in silence where no doubter can reach in and drain it. This is not retreat. It is concentration, the gathering of all the energy you have been leaking through 100 explanations back into one single channel. Lie still now, and do not listen to be talked out of the silence. Listen to be talked into it. I intend, before this hour is through, to take apart your need to be seen, piece by piece, until you no longer require anyone's permission to become what you already know you must become. Part 1. The man who explains himself has already surrendered. Let me begin with the hardest thing I will say tonight, and I will say it plainly, because softening it would do you no kindness. Every explanation you offer is a small surrender, every one. You imagine, when you explain yourself, that you are being open or courteous or honest, and sometimes a little of that is true. But underneath the courtesy lies a request, and the request is always the same. Tell me this is all right. Tell me you approve. Tell me I may proceed. And the man who must hear that before he can act has handed the rule of his own life to whoever holds the power to grant it or withhold it. He is no longer the author of his course. He is a petitioner waiting at the door of other men's opinions for a permission that is theirs to give or refuse. Understand what this costs you, for it costs you far more than your dignity, though it costs you that too. It costs you your power, and it costs it in a way you have never noticed. There is a fixed law here, and it is one of the surest I ever found.
I want to pause for a moment and just speak to you, not as a channel, but as a friend, because something happened that I can't let pass by quietly. There are now 300,000 of us here, 300,000 people who decided this little corner of the world was worth their time. When I started, I could never have pictured a number like that. And honestly, it's not the number that gets me. It's the thought of 300,000 real lives, each of you on your own road, choosing to walk a part of it with me. I don't take that lightly for a single second. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I'm grateful for every one of you. Oh, and if you still haven't grabbed the free auto suggestion sheet, go do that. I really think it could help you. It's down in the description.
The energy that should have gone into the doing of a thing leaks out through the telling of it. When a man holds a purpose in silence, the whole pressure of it builds inside him, and that pressure is the very force that drives the thing into being. But when he announces it, when he lays it out before others, and collects their nods and their cautions and their well-meant warnings, the pressure escapes, the telling discharges it. He feels, after announcing his great intention to an admiring listener, a curious satisfaction, almost as though he had already accomplished something, and that false satisfaction is the sound of his power leaking out through his own mouth. He has spent on the telling what he needed for the doing, and the thing having been talked about is now far less likely to be done. This is why the people-pleaser, who explains everything, accomplishes so little of what he announces. It is not that he lacks desire. He has desire enough. It is that he discharges his desire in words before it can ever harden into deeds. He has confused two things that are not the same at all: being seen and being respected. He believes that if enough people see him, approve of him, affirm him, then he is somebody. And so he lives in front of others, explaining and performing, mistaking the warmth of their attention for the substance of a real life. But respect does not work the way he thinks. Respect does not go to the man who needs it. It goes every time to the man who does not, to the man who acts without asking, who holds his own counsel, who does not require your approval, and therefore does not court it. The moment a man stops needing to be approved of, he becomes, for the first time, worthy of respect. And the people pleaser, by needing it so visibly, guarantees he will never quite get it. So we begin here. There is one aim, you know, the one that you have been explaining to everyone who will listen. You have announced it, defended it, justified it, sought the nod for it, and watched a little of its force leak away each time. Tonight, you stop explaining it. You begin, instead, to guard it. Say within yourself, slowly, with me, every explanation I offer is a small surrender, and I am done surrendering. I stop announcing my aim and begin guarding it. The force that leaked out through the telling, I now keep for the doing. I do not need to be seen. I have confused being seen with being respected, and I am done confusing them. Respect comes to the man who does not need it, and I no longer need it. Let that pass down into you. Do not soften it. It is meant to be a little hard. Part 2. The fear of criticism is the thing that keeps you visible. Now I must name the thing that holds you in front of the audience, because you will never close the gate while it stands unnamed. It is the fear of criticism, one of the oldest and cruelest of all the ghosts that haunt the minds of men, and the one that does its particular work on the man who cannot disappear. Understand exactly how it chains you. You cannot withdraw, you cannot go silent, you cannot vanish into the work for a season, because you cannot bear what they might say about your absence. The thought of it is unendurable to you, that they will talk, that they will wonder, that they will draw their own conclusions about where you went and why, and that you will not be there to correct them, to explain, to manage the story they tell about you. And so you stay. You stay visible, you stay available, you stay forever within reach of the verdict, because the fear of being criticized in your absence is stronger in you than the desire to do the work that requires you to be absent. The fear keeps you in the room. It has kept you in the room your whole life. And here's the thing you must grasp about this fear, the thing that strips away its authority. It is not the truth, and it was never the truth. It is a habit of thought, planted in you by repetition, by every childhood moment you were shamed for stepping out of line, by every time you were taught that what others thought of you was the measure of your worth, by the long, unnoticed rehearsal of caring, what they would say, until caring became automatic. It runs the people pleaser without his ever once deciding to obey it. He thinks he is simply being considerate. He is being ruled by a fear he never examined. Let me tell you of a man this fear robbed of a fortune, and I will tell you about him before I tell you what became of him. There was a man ordinary, capable, no fool, who had hold of a sound idea. A good idea, a workable one, the kind of idea that builds something real if a man will only act on it, and he knew it was good. He turned it over and saw that it was sound, but he did not act. Each time he came near to acting, the fear rose up and asked him the questions it always asks. What will they say? What if it fails and they see you fail? What if they laugh? Who do you think you are to try such a thing? And so he waited. He told himself he was being prudent, that he was waiting for the right moment, that he wanted to be sure, but he was not being prudent. He was afraid of criticism, and the fear held his hands. He sat on the sound idea, polishing his caution, for so long that another man, a man who had the same idea, or one very like it, and who simply did not care what anyone would say if he failed, took it up, acted on it, and built a fortune from the very thing the first man had been too afraid to begin. The timid man watched it happen. He watched another collect what his own fear had cost him. And the only difference between the two men was that one was ruled by the fear of criticism and one was free of it. Now hear the principle that frees you, for it is not what you expect. You do not conquer the fear of criticism by learning to defend yourself better, by sharpening your explanations, by preparing answers for every objection, by becoming so good at justifying yourself that no critic can touch you. That is not freedom. That is the fear wearing armor, still ruling you, still keeping you in the room rehearsing your defense. You conquer it the way you conquer any such ghost, not by fighting it where it lives, but by removing yourself from the room where it lives. You crowd it out by occupying the mind with the work instead, and you starve it by stepping out of reach of the very verdict it feeds on. The critic cannot wound a man who is not present to be wounded. The fear cannot rule a man who has walked out of the room where the ruling happens. So the silence begins, in part, as a simple refusal, a refusal to be present for the verdict. You will not stand in the room and wait to hear what they say. You will not manage the story. You will withdraw and let them say what they will say, and not be there to flinch at it. Say, with me, the fear of criticism has kept me visible my whole life, and I see it now for what it is, not the truth, but an old habit of thought planted by repetition. I do not conquer it by defending myself better. That is only the fear in armor. I conquer it by walking out of the room where the verdict is passed. I will not be present for it. Let them say what they will. I am not there to hear it, for I am at work. Part 3, controlled attention. Closing the gate so the work can harden, we come now to what the silence is for I would not have you think it is mere absence, mere staying away. The disappearance is not empty. It is the most concentrated work a man ever does, and it has a name in my philosophy: controlled attention. It is the deliberate withdrawal of the mind from every channel except the one aim, and held rightly, it is the closest thing to a magic power that an ordinary man possesses. Consider what scattered attention does to a man, for you have been living it. The mind that attends to everything, to every opinion, every distraction, every claim on its notice, every passing worry about who is thinking what is a mind, spread thin across 100 surfaces, and a mind spread thin has no force anywhere. It produces a scattered man, a man busy from morning to night, and yet building nothing, because his attention, which is the tool by which all building is done, is never gathered in one place long enough to cut. He attends to the audience, to the verdict, to the comparison with other men, to the thousand small noises of a visible life, and his one aim, which needed all of him, gets only the scraps of an attention everyone else has first picked over. Now consider the man who controls his attention. He withdraws it deliberately and by force of will from every channel but the one. He does not attend to the audience, for he has left the room. He does not attend to the verdict, for he is not present to receive it.
Here's the gap between the people who manifest wealth and the people who only watch videos about it. The wealthy install the idea daily until the mind accepts it as already done. You can't do that from memory. You need it in front of you. That's why I made the free auto-suggestion sheet. One page, read it morning and night, and you start reprogramming your self-image around money. It's free at the first link in the description.
He does not attend to the comparison, the distraction, the noise. He gathers the whole of his attention and aims it at the single aim, and held there day after day in the silence. That gathered attention develops a cutting force that scattered attention never approaches. This is the force that the man who disappears comes back possessing, not because he rested, but because for a season he attended to one thing only. And a man becomes whatever he attends to with the whole of his mind. You will remember the picture of the river I have used before, and I will extend it now, for it tells the whole truth of this. The water spread wide and shallow turns no wheel, gathered into one narrow channel it cuts through stone. But hear the part that bears on your silence. A channel with 100 small leaks in its walls cannot build the pressure that gives the water its cutting power. The water dribbles out through the leaks and arrives at the end weak and spent. An audience is 100 small leaks in the channel wall. Every person you explain yourself to, every verdict you wait for, every opinion you let in each is a small breach through which the pressure escapes. The season of silence is the sealing of those leaks. It is not that the silence adds water to the channel, it is that the silence stops the leaking, so that for the first time the full pressure builds, and the water, finding no escape but the one channel, develops the force to cut through what has always stopped you. So name it now, before sleep. Name the one thing your mind will attend to through the season of silence, the single aim that will receive the whole of your gathered attention. And name, just as clearly, what you will seal yourself off from: the audience, the verdict, the comparison, the noise. Say with me, I gather my attention back from the 100 surfaces it was scattered across, and I aim the whole of it at my one aim. I seal the leaks in the channel wall, the audience, the verdict, the comparison, the noise, and I let the pressure build with no escape but the one channel. A man becomes whatever he attends to with the whole of his mind, and for this season I attend to one thing only. Part 4. Guarding the mind from the minds that drain it. There is one more thing the silence does, and it is perhaps the most important of all, though it is the one a tender-hearted man most resists. The silence releases you for a season from the minds that have been draining you, and you must understand this law before you can close the gate without guilt. I have taught, in other hours, that when two or more minds are brought into harmony toward one definite aim, they create a power greater than the sum of them, a master mind, a force that collects what no single mind can reach. But the law has an inverse. And the inverse is just as certain and far more dangerous, because men live inside it without ever suspecting it. Just as minds in harmony multiply a man, minds in discord and doubt drain him. And here is the cruel irony of the people-pleaser's life. He keeps the draining minds closest of all. The very people he most needs to withdraw from are the ones he most fears to disappoint, and so he holds them near. And they drain him near, day after day, while he mistakes their nearness for friendship and their draining for care. Let me name them so you will know their faces. There is the negative friend, who meets every hope you voice with a reason it will not work, not from malice often, but from his own defeated spirit, which cannot bear to see you believe in something he has stopped believing in for himself. There is the casual doubter, who does not even mean anything by it, who simply lets fall, lightly, the small remark that punctures your faith, and then forgets he ever said it while you carry the puncture for a week. And there is the one, and you know if there is such a one in your life, who is secretly glad when you stay small, because your staying small keeps him comfortable, and your rising would force him to look at his own life and find it wanting. These minds, held close, wear down your faith by the very same law that built it: repetition. The faith you are trying to build by repeating your creed in private, they are tearing down by repeating their doubt in your hearing. And in the long run, the mind that is repeated to most often wins. So understand at last that the season of silence is, in part, a deliberate release of the minds that have been collecting your energy out of your hands. You are not abandoning anyone. You are sealing a leak. And you must do it without anger, for anger is just another tie that binds you to them, another channel through which they drain you. You withdraw from the draining minds the way a careful man seals a breach in a wall, not cursing the breach, not arguing with it, simply closing it so the pressure can build. Some of these minds you will return to changed, when you yourself are strong enough that their doubt can no longer reach you. Some you will find you have outgrown entirely. But for the season of the work, you withdraw, and you explain it to no one, and you let the silence do its sealing. See them now, in the dark, not with bitterness, but with the calm of a man who has finally understood where his energy has been going. See the minds you withdraw from, and seal the leak. Say with me, just as minds in harmony multiply me, minds in doubt and discord drain me, and I have kept the draining minds closest of all. I release them now, for a season, without anger, for anger is only another tie. I seal the leak as a careful man seals a breach in a wall, neither cursing it nor arguing with it. I explain my withdrawal to no one. I let the silence do its sealing, and I let the pressure build at last. Part 5, self-confidence built in private, not borrowed in public. Now I must show you the deepest reason you have lived in front of an audience all these years. For until you see it, you will close the gate, and then, within a week, fling it open again, unable to bear the silence. The reason is this: your confidence has not been your own. You have been borrowing it. Every nod of approval, every word of praise, every affirming look, these have been small loans of confidence handed to you by other people. And you have lived on these loans because you had no confidence of your own to live on. And a man who lives on borrowed confidence cannot disappear, because the moment he withdraws from the people who lend it to him, the supply is cut off, and he feels himself going bankrupt in his own soul. That is the panic that drives him back into the room. It is not that he loves the audience. It is that he cannot survive without the confidence they lend him. And he has never learned to manufacture his own. And hear the fatal weakness of borrowed confidence, for it is worse even than its dependence. Borrowed confidence collapses the very instant the audience turns. The man who is sure of himself only because others have told him to be sure is undone the moment they stop telling him, or worse, the moment they begin to doubt him. His whole sense of his own worth swings on the hinge of their opinion, rising when they praise and crashing when they criticize, and so he is never steady, never his own man, never for 1 hour free. He has built his house on another man's ground, and the other man can evict him at will. The confidence that lasts is built differently. It is not borrowed in public, it is induced in private. It is manufactured by the man himself, alone, by autosuggestion, by the deliberate daily repetition of a settled belief in himself, spoken to himself when no one is there to hear it and no one is there to approve. This is confidence that owes nothing to anyone and therefore can be taken from him by no one. The audience may turn. It does not matter, for he did not get his confidence from them, and they cannot take back what they never gave. He built it himself in the silence, and it is his. Let me tell you of a man who was eaten alive by his own sense of inferiority, and how he cured himself, and I will tell you about him before I tell you what he became. There was a man who carried within him a crushing belief in his own smallness. He felt himself less than other men in every room he entered. He shrank from opportunities he was fully able to seize, because some voice within him, repeated so long he took it for truth, told him he was not enough, not capable enough, not worthy enough, not the kind of man to whom good things come. He had lived under this verdict so long it had become the air he breathed, and it was strangling the whole of his life. But he learned a thing that saved him. He learned that the belief in his own inferiority was not a fact but a habit planted by repetition and therefore curable by repetition. And so he wrote out a creed, a plain statement of confidence in himself and in his power to accomplish his definite aim, and he began to repeat it to himself daily, alone, aloud, and within, again and again, with all the feeling he could summon. At first he did not believe a word of it. He said it anyway. He said it the second day, and the 10th, and the 50th. And slowly, for these things are always slow, the new words began to wear a new groove in his mind, deeper than the old one, until one day he noticed that the old verdict of inferiority had gone quiet, and a new and settled confidence had taken its place, and it was a confidence he had built himself and owed to no one. He no longer needed anyone to tell him he was enough. He had told himself every day until the deep mind believed it and made it so. And from that private daily work came the public life he had never been able to live before. This is the work of your season of silence, not to wait for the world to grant you a confidence it has always withheld, but to manufacture your own, alone, where no audience can grant it or withdraw it. Speak the creed daily in the silence. Believe none of it at first. If you cannot, say it anyway. The belief will come up the road to meet the words as it always does, and what you build alone in the dark will stand when every audience has gone home. Say with me, I have lived on borrowed confidence, and borrowed confidence collapses the moment the audience turns.
Now, if you're ready to stop learning and start seeing evidence, I built something for you. It's called the 14-Day Money Magnet Protocol. 14 days, one simple ritual a day, and the goal is concrete. Attract your first $100 out of nowhere, and here's my promise. If it doesn't happen, you get your money back because $100 isn't the point, it's the proof the law is working for you. Start it at the second-life.com/moneymagnet. Second link in the description.
I am done borrowing. I build my own, alone, by repetition, where no one can grant it or take it from me. I speak my creed of confidence in the silence daily, believing none of it at first if I must, for the belief will come to meet the words. What I build alone in the dark owes nothing to anyone, and therefore no one can ever take it from me again. Part 6, the work that speaks for itself when you return. You may be wondering, somewhere beneath all this, how it will go when you return, for you cannot stay vanished forever. And the day will come when you walk back among the people you withdrew from, and they will look at you, and the old fear stirs and asks, what will you say to them? How will you explain where you went, and what you did, and why? And I want to free you from that question entirely tonight, because the answer is the most liberating thing in this whole hour. You will say nothing. You will not need to. The man who disappears and returns truly changed does not explain the change. The work explains it. The bearing explains it. The result explains it. He walks back in possession of something he did not have before, and it announces itself, and there is nothing left for him to say. This is the whole difference between the man who begs and the man who demonstrates, and it runs through everything I have ever taught. The man who has nothing built must beg, must explain, must persuade, must plead his case in words, and ask to be believed, because words are all he has. But the man who has built something in the silence does not beg, because he has no need to. He simply lets the thing he built be seen, and the thing speaks more loudly than any plea could. Render value so evident that it announces itself, and you will never again have to ask anyone to believe in you. The proof will compel the belief that the plea could never win. Let me tell you of a man who understood this, who got what he wanted, not by asking for it, but by quietly demonstrating that he was already worth it, and I will tell you about him before his name. There was a man who wanted a position, and he wanted it badly. And he did the thing that nearly every man in his place does. He prepared to go and ask for it, but then he thought better of the begging. He saw that to walk in and plead for the position, to explain why he deserved it, to ask to be given a chance, to throw himself on the mercy of the man who held the power, was to come as a beggar, and beggars are given scraps or nothing. So he did something else. Instead of asking for the job, he set about quietly demonstrating that he could already do it. He studied the man's business until he understood it. He prepared, in detail, exactly what he would do and how he would render service of unmistakable value, and he presented not a plea, but a demonstration. Not, please give me a chance, but here is the value I will deliver, already worked out, already proven. He did not beg to be believed. He made himself impossible to refuse. And he got the position, and more than the position, because he had come not as a supplicant explaining why he deserved a chance, but as a man whose evident worth spoke for itself and required no explanation at all. That is how you return. You will have spent your season of silence, not idling, but building, rendering, in private, value of such quality and such quantity, in such a willing spirit, that when you walk back among them, you carry the evidence with you, and the evidence does the speaking. You will not explain where you went. You will not justify your absence. You will simply be, visibly, a different and a larger man, and the difference will be its own account of itself. The people who would have doubted a plea cannot doubt a result. The ones who would have criticized an explanation have nothing to seize upon, because you offer them none, only the changed man and the work he carries. So see it now, before sleep takes you. See yourself returning at the end of the season, not anxious, not rehearsing your explanation, not bracing for the verdict, but calm and changed and carrying the work. See yourself needing to say nothing at all. Say, with me, when I return, I will explain nothing, for the work will explain it for me. I am done begging to be believed. I will demonstrate instead, and the demonstration will compel what no plea ever could. Through the season of silence, I do not idle, I build. In private, value so evident it announces itself. I will walk back a larger man, carrying the proof, and the proof will do the speaking. The ones who would have doubted my words cannot doubt my result. Part 7, Come Back Different. We have come to the end of the hour, and I would have you gather the whole of it now into one hand before you sleep, because it has all been pointing toward a single act, and the act is within your power tonight. Here is everything I have laid before you. To explain yourself is to ask permission, and to ask permission is to surrender the rule of your own life so you stop explaining and begin guarding. The fear of criticism is what has kept you visible, chained to the verdict, unable to withdraw, so you walk out of the room where the verdict is passed and refuse to be present for it. The disappearance itself is controlled attention, the gathering of your scattered mind back into one channel, the sealing of the 100 leaks through which your power has been escaping, so the pressure can finally build and cut. The draining minds, which you have kept closest of all, must be released for the season without anger, the way a careful man seals a breach in a wall. The confidence you have always borrowed must be built, this time in private by your own daily repetition, so that it owes nothing to anyone and can be taken by no one. And when you return, you will explain nothing, for the work you built in the silence will speak louder than any explanation you could offer. Every one of those is a single piece of one single act, and the act has a shape now, and you can see it. So let the 3 months stand before you one last time, reframed for what they truly are. This is not a disappearance from life. It is a disappearance into the one aim, a season in which you withdraw from the audience and the verdict and the draining minds, and pour the whole of your gathered attention into becoming the man you have always known you must become. And from that silence, a different man emerges, not the same man rested. A different man remade. Let the whole of it come down now into one creed, spoken slowly, in the first person, as entirely your own. I owe no one an explanation. I stop announcing my aim and begin guarding it. I walk out of the room where the verdict is passed, and I am not present for it. I close the gate and gather my whole attention into one channel, sealing every leak through which my power escaped. I release the minds that drained me for a season without anger. I build my confidence alone, where no one can grant it or take it. And when I return, I explain nothing, for the work will speak for me. I disappear into the one aim, and a different man comes back. Hold that, let it settle all the way down into you, and now hear the last thing I will say to you tonight. The man who can disappear without explaining himself to anyone has done the rarest and the most powerful thing a man can do. He has taken back the rule of his own life. He has stopped living for the verdict. He has stopped leaking his power through his own mouth. He has stopped borrowing his worth from people who could withdraw it at will. And he has gathered all of it, the attention, the power, the confidence, the silence, into the one work that